There is no end-all be-all commuter, but if I had to pick one car to recommend to the most people, it would be the new Toyota Camry. The car that I've been driving this week has done all of the important stuff very well. The new Sonata gives you more features for your money, the new Accord handles better. This is the smartest sedan. Briefly, if you enjoy fun, detailed car content, consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell. Thank you. A key reason in making this in my opinion, the most competitive Toyota product is the price. Yes, starting at $30,000 for the LE might seem a little high, but when you consider that you're getting the hybrid powertrain as standard and you can equip specific packages to get you key features like even heated seats and a heated steering wheel, you can walk away with a base trim. You don't need to step up past that to get the equipment that you want. So I'd absolutely consider the money factor a selling point. I'm also a big fan of the powertrain. So under the hood, we're gonna have Toyota's latest 5th generation hybrid. This has enough acceleration to feel relaxed and enough efficiency to feel like I'm cheating the system. So now with the aforementioned LE trim that gets the smaller wheels, you're gonna have over 50 miles per gallon combined. Even here with the least efficient setup, with the big wheels and the all-wheel drive, I've still been averaging 42 miles to the gallon. When you're easy on it, getting 45 plus isn't a problem. And I should add, the weather hasn't been on my side either. Even past 60 miles per hour, this still has good passing power. I thought I would be missing the V6 engine a little bit more than I am. I'd still like to see it, or maybe a nice Turbo 4 at some point, but it's really not necessary. If you care, 0 to 60 in damp conditions came up in just 6.9 seconds with no wheel spin, thanks to that all-wheel drive. And I also really like how the eCVT responds. Yes, it's still gonna have that vacuum cleaner disposition. However, the amount of times that I find myself actually needing to floor this are minimal. This has great initial electric response, partially because of this new hybrid having more electric power, more electric torque. It's a good immediate reaction, and it's linear feeling as well. The regenerative braking is seamless. This is what Toyota does best. And another advantage that this holds over all of its competitors is that you can get all-wheel drive on any trim. This is just a separate electric motor around back, but as I've tested in other Toyota models, it provides more than enough torque to get you through moderate snowy conditions, and I think that's key in scaling back some sales from small crossover buyers. I could say the same of the ride quality. Over roads that predate your grandma's grandma, the Camry is forgiving. It's smooth. Even here with the XSE that has 19-inch wheels and a sport-tuned suspension, it can handle most small, even large imperfections with no fuss. It is a compliant car. Though I have noticed that a larger pothole will crash into the cabin. If you go with something like the LE, which gets a softer suspension, much more sidewall, you're gonna have probably the best riding vehicle that you can find below $40,000. Up at higher speeds, it's also quiet and it handles all right. If you want more confidence, the XSE and SE trims should help out on a winding road, but regardless of the Camry that you go with, it's sure-footed. The steering is predictable, pretty numb overall, but I like how it weights up a little bit through corners. I think it's a little bit less dead than in years past. If you want a car that feels a little bit sharper with more communicative, natural steering, you can go with the Honda Accord. There's also the Sonata N-Line, which absolutely rips. Though the Camry does keep its poise through a corner or two. Thanks to the low belt line, The visibility is great. And while the car itself is low, the driving position does have me sitting a little bit higher, almost like I'm on top of the car, which maybe some people won't like, but if you're coming from an SUV, I think you might feel a little bit more at home here than you would anticipate. There are some other cars out there that provide a very pleasant driving experience, but then completely lose their minds when it comes to the interior. Thankfully, that's not the case with the Camry. You have a infotainment system that's super straightforward, not the fastest out there, but you have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto as wireless. And while you're using that, it's very snappy. The digital gauge cluster is also straightforward, and you have physical inputs for your HVAC controls. This is becoming more and more of a luxury every year. And I think the Camry's ease of use overall, whether it's interacting with the interior or driving it, is an important strong suit, as is comfort. At 6'3", I found the seats of the LE and SE to be soft enough with good support. However, the available panoramic sunroof cuts me short on headroom, and the XSE gets stiff seats, which feel a bit awkward. Toyota interior quality has come into question as of late, but the Camry has met my expectations. You have soft touch rest points, the panel fitment and construction feel solid, and I think the XLE looks borderline premium. I'm okay with this for 35 or 40 grand, even if I'd hoped for less glossy plastics on those high trims. There is a slight rattle here and there when you crank up the JBL sound system. This is the optional unit. It's got great punch, maybe not the clearest sounding out there. It's not overly crisp, especially at high volumes, but I've had a good time with it. I also think it's worth praising the Camry for its versatility. Now, up front, the storage here in the center is decent. You have a wireless charger that does seem to work with my iPhone 17. The door pockets are a little bit small, but I can forgive that when I hop into the back seat. Even at 6'3", if I'm lounging out in the front seat, I can still fit behind myself with a reasonable amount of comfort. There could be more thigh support, but you know, we're working with limited height here. And you do have climate vents, your USB ports as well. The only thing that's really missing is available heated rear seats. That's something that I think Toyota gatekeeped for the Crown. Hopping into the trunk, I fit with no problem. I think you really could replace a lot of SUVs with the amount of space that you have back there. Of course, you're not gonna have the same maximum amount of cargo volume available to you, even when you fold down the seats, but this could work for a lot of different lifestyles. And despite this being a hybrid, you get a spare tire on every single spec. The last reason that I would recommend a Toyota Camry is probably the most important to a lot of Toyota buyers, and that is its reputation for reliability, but crucially, the resale value. So if we're comparing this to a Nissan Altima or a Kia K5, Hyundai Sonata, they might undercut this in price up front, but 5-10 years down the road, this is gonna be worth a lot more than the $2,000 or $3,000 more that you had to spend up front. And judging off of the past, this is an easy car to trust. So far for the 2025 model year, there have only been really miscellaneous issues. I did see recurring complaints of infotainment and driving aid bugs, as well as a few claims of inadequate AC and spontaneously cracking windshields. But so far, with over 300,000 cars sold in the US, I'm not reading any serious teething problems. That makes sense, since this is based on the previous Camry hybrid, and that was a very dependable car. The expensive variable here is the hybrid battery pack. Typically, these last around 15 years before they become a concern. They can also last for well over 200,000 miles, but will likely cost you $3,000 or $4,000 to replace. We'll need more time for a true verdict, but if you care about long-term ownership costs, I feel comfortable recommending a Camry. Looking forward, there are a few things that Toyota needs to improve. The first one is I personally would stay away from the high-end packaging. I don't think I could live with these driving aids. They are that annoying. The front cross traffic alert gives me anxiety at almost any intersection. Yes, it can be useful in very specific scenarios, but most of the time it's beeping at me for things that I very well can see, and you can't disable it. There's also the driver focus system. If I'm, kind of sitting back a little bit more than I usually do, it'll throw a message. And all Camrys will come with something called proactive driving assist, which is like driving with a ghost that sometimes plays with the brakes. I thought there was something wrong with the first Toyota that I drove with that feature. Thankfully, you can disable that one permanently. A more surprising issue I ran into was quality control. My 2026 press car occasionally makes a clunking noise when going over speed bumps. Sometimes new cars have problems, that's why there's a warranty, but I'm curious if any of you have run into a similar issue. I also think that Toyota should soften up the XSE seats, and maybe it's not important, but I do wish that there was a little bit more pizzazz to the driving experience to kind of match the look of the XSE and SE trims. Yes, you get that sport tune suspension, but it doesn't really do a whole lot. When life forces you to be sensible, there's a good chance that you'll cross paths with a crossover. For many people, the added practicality of being able to fold the seats and fit a refrigerator is a big pro. For a lot of other folks, maybe they just want to sit up high. But if you can get past those things, I believe the king of appliances is the new Camry. It shatters the efficiency of any new SUV. It is more comfortable and quiet than basically all of the ones that you can get for this price, especially in the LE or XLE form. And when it comes to hybrids, this is an absolute bargain. There's a time and a place for bold innovation, but often the best choice is the boring one. Toyota has been conducting several major redesigns in the last few years. Some models like the latest Prius or Tacoma generate excitement with ground-up changes, but that has come at the sacrifice of value. The Camry has opted for the incremental improvement route, and when the goal is maximum rationality, I think it was a smart play. Thanks for watching, and thank you to my channel members for helping me improve my content. Consider joining for additional videos, and I'll catch you in the next one.